Tu sais, le nom de la chanson c'est Promiscuous Girl, je pense. Mais Promiscuous c'est comme pute, comme ben une fille qui couche avec plein de gars, genre. Mais c'est ça, mais c'est con là, mais comme plein de monde qui chante cette chanson-là, puis comme ils savent pas ça veut dire quoi là. Genre moi au début je l'écoutais puis je savais pas ça veut dire quoi. Puis là à un moment donné j'ai comme entendu que ça voulait dire ça, je fais comme wesh là. Mais c'est comme vraiment souvent comme ça là.
Tu vois le gars, puis il y a la fille qui danse toujours sur lui. Mais le gars il danse des fois, mais la plupart du temps c'est vraiment la fille qui danse là. Puis tu la vois, puis ça descend vers ses fesses, puis là ça remonte.
Puis c'est juste comme maintenant c'est comme ok genre on baisse, let's go. On s'aime pas besoin, genre t'es juste belle, t'es beau, ok, right, genre let's go, on y va, tu sais. 1, 2, 3, parti au lit, tu sais.
J'ai trouvé ça moins choquant que dans tu sais, il y a vraiment d'autres clips qui sont vraiment plus choquants, comme ça, mettons les clips de 50 Cent, ok? Les filles, genre, ils sont juste comme, ok,
là, comme
genre,
objet.
Ouais, exactement.
Mais c'est vrai qu'il y a pire parce qu'exemple, le vidéoclip Britney Spears a été scandalisé I'm a slave for you. Il faisait un rave, mais il faisait comme 55 degrés parce que tout le monde suait, mais tout le monde était dénudé, tout le monde se frottait dessus. Mais à un moment donné, il y avait une orgie, puis elle est comme I'm a slave for you et tout ça, puis...
Mais dis-le en français.
Je suis une esclave pour toi.
Moi, ça fait déjà plus de 20 ans.
I've been giving sex education to children, parents, and health workers for more than 20 years, and you can see a sudden change about 5 or 6 years ago when we started being increasingly bombarded with sexually suggestive messages. And children, depending on their age, of course, receive them as if it were normal. When you're dealing with children and teenagers in particular, they're at an age when they want to fit in with the norm. They want to resemble their idols. They want to be popular. That's a key concept during adolescence. Well, now to be popular, you have to be hot. You have to give off sexual energy. But when you're 14 years old, or even 11, that's easier said than done. So they start imitating, dressing the same way, doing the same movements, like when they dance. There's also the question of fashion. At the moment, fashion for kids is alarming on some levels because clothing has been eroticized, especially for little girls. For boys, the situation is different because oversized t-shirts and baggy pants are not very erotic. But for girls, it's thongs and tank tops with spaghetti straps.
Well, I've been studying girls for, 10, 20 years, and Lynn Michael Brown has written on girls, and we got together to look at how marketers and the media are representing girls to girls. Are they represented with the great sort of diversity that they live and the uniqueness of their personalities? And, of course, we know now that no, we get the same stereotypes over and over, and one of those stereotypes has to do with this sexualization, and that girls' main value comes from being pretty, not just nice. Used to be just nice, good, nice little girls. Now it's about being pretty and hot.
This is a padded bra. This is very small for a very tiny girl. And when asked why the Bratz company was making padded bras, they called them bralettes, for little girls, they said that they were making them because little girls wanted to be discreet while they were developing. But if they wanted to be discreet, why are they wearing pretty little pink lace and little buttons. I mean, to me, this is like dressing up sexy. This is the kind of portrayal that parents are most worried about because, of course, she looks like a prostitute, right? With the, with the big boots and the belly shirt and the mini skirt. But this is like normalized dress now for girls. And we have, again, the hot pink color, which is a sexualized color.
Yeah, we think that girls are bombarded with these images on a daily basis. We think that everywhere they turn, they're being hit with an image of, this sexualized, pretty and pink kind of girlhood. That's very stereotypical. This runs from stereotypes like girls love to shop to, that girls really are all about crushing on boys.
Oh, I love shopping. Now, why would girls want a little purse that says, I love shopping, right?
Well, more now than ever, kids do have money, and marketers are marketing to kids to spend their own money on products. And we saw that with this category called tweens. It's something that marketers made up to sell teen products to younger girls. And how they do that is they get a transitional item. So adult women might wear lipstick, and teenagers might wear lip gloss of varying shades, but a tween might wear cherry cola lip gloss. So you're combining something that's still a little girlish, and yet it's really introducing them to something they don't really need yet at all, so that you have a customer for life.
Shopping gives meaning to our lives. I mean, it's what we want to become as individuals, what we want to become as a society, what we aspire as a group. Makes no sense. Makes no sense. I mean, we have replaced religion, spirituality, and all of those things with this, the shopping gods.
Shopping!
So, I will introduce you here to Hollywood Bratz. The Bratz doll, you see she's very glittery, right? She has a body that is not the body of a woman, but she's dressed like a woman. Girls adore them. They've been a huge, huge success. I mean, in 5 or 6 years, they become a multi-billion-dollar market. Then you need to market to sell more. You need to start creating other products. This is the baby Bratz. She still has the pouty lips, the sexy lips, the makeup in the eyes. She also has a belly shirt, right? I mean, she's sexy, even though she's a baby. Also, these dolls are sold as the passion for fashion. And you will see these girls are very young. I mean, they're probably about 5 or 6. Being sexy is not about sex. Girls see sexy as an image. And what I see with the girls I talk to is that it's essential to be sexy. And sexy means being thin, for the most part, dressing a certain way, and having a certain attitude, which, of course, they take from the stars.
Elles ont vendu 6 millions d'albums et conquis les palmarès avec 5 chansons ultra populaires. Elles sont admirées et enviées dans le monde entier. Voici les Pussycat Dolls.
Cette idée de célébrité.
The idea of celebrity has strong appeal because all the cameras are focused on you. Suddenly, people recognize you. And it's hard to get recognition during adolescence. It's hard to stand out.
En l'espace de quelques semaines, une inconnue deviendra une véritable vedette.
Dolls.
Qui possédera le talent et la détermination nécessaires. Qui sera assez divinement sensuelle pour devenir la prochaine Pussycat Doll.
Je trouve vraiment dommage que, puisque l'image qu'on doit être, genre, comme les femmes chanteuses doivent être vraiment sexuelles, mais comme pour que nous, public, on soit supposé aimer ça, mais ils deviennent tous comme ça. À la fin, ils finissent par être comme ça. C'est vraiment dommage parce qu'ils ont super de talent. Puis je trouve ça vraiment dégradant pour la femme.
Okay. Ouais.
Comme, je sais pas, Avril Lavigne, tu sais, au début, ce qu'on aimait, c'est qu'elle était pas comme les autres, là. une sale rebelle qui s'est fait jeter dehors de son école, skater, vraiment ça mal à manger pour une fille, ok.
Mais là, qu'elle se transforme comme ça,
c'est complètement stupide parce qu'elle disait « Oh, j'haïs les petites blondes qui font les petites pétasses, petites poupounettes. »
Et après 3 ans
Puis là,
plus tard,
maintenant, elle est devenue exactement ce qu'elle reniait.
Mais parce qu'elle s'est fait avoir elle aussi, regarde, comme Nelly Furtado, elle s'est fait avoir aussi, là.
Je travaille avec des enfants de 6 ans à 12 ans.
I've been working with children aged 6 to 12 for the past 30 years. What I've noticed is that the girls are really affected, very much so. They are absolutely overwhelmed by a desire to be seductive. They want to have a boyfriend. They spend time organizing their love lives. Before, the big concerns for children in grades 4, 5, and 6 were issues of friendship. What we're seeing in our schools is that the most popular boys are the ones who get into the game of charming and seducing girls, and who hang out with the girls in their circles. They become preteens very quickly. Boys who don't necessarily identify with all that start asking themselves questions about their identity. Are they real guys or not? I'm absolutely appalled to see that we are stealing childhood away from children by pushing them to become miniature adults, by dressing them like adults, and making them experience emotions that at that age, they're simply not capable of dealing with.
I find that young people are at times catapulted into a world that's erotic, sensual, and orgasmic, or what have you. And they have a hard time dealing with who they are.
The real damage to girls is they're over-investing in image instead of their real interests and developing unique identities. And that won't, it's not just their sexual relationships that'll be affected by that, but their accomplishments and their feelings about themselves and what makes them worthwhile as human beings later on in life. And I think that the APA Task Force report did address that girls who looked at more objectifying material, the more likely they are to have lower self-esteem and to become depressed and even to develop eating disorders. And we've known that for a long time, that there's something toxic about the culture.
This is a Gene Simmons family jewels. Look how big he broke all the rules.
Aside from the fact that sex sells, why do all your business ventures center around sex now?
Because sex sells.
Thank you.
You know what I believe in, right? Women equal dollars. Scantily clad women means more dollars.
On the one hand, I think when boys are younger, they have a lot of variety to choose from in role models that are represented on TV and in books and in movies. But as they get older, it starts to narrow again. And when you see boys in high school, over and over again, they're encouraged to be players, which is a kind of a guy who uses girls or who has girls hanging around as accessories to them that sort of enhance their own power. But I do think that this image is, has two sides to it. I mean, it's a narrowing. On the other hand, it does get them some kind of power, and real power in a way. Maybe it's not the best form of power, but, authority and ability to make some decisions, which I think is a real form of power. But what we don't see is their tremendous vulnerability that boys have in terms of being able to show who they really are and to put themselves out there in the world without this, harder player kind of image.
The top concern I have is with the eroticization of childhood. I've been fighting against that for years. In my opinion, a G-string for an 8-year-old girl is totally inappropriate.
I think it's very problematic in terms of the amount of sexual abuse that we have in our culture, too, because we're constantly sexualizing little girls in a way that makes it sometimes almost acceptable to see them in that way. And if you look at the way adults might be pictured in modeling or in advertisements, you'll often see them in cute little skirts or pigtails or even sucking a lollipop in a kind of pose of sexy innocence. And I think, I know that it's just an image, but having, worked with so many children who've been sexually abused, I just cringe at that, thinking, why are we even blurring that line at all?
Petit jeu, c'est là qu'on commence à s'amuser puis qu'on va vous demander d'aiguiser vos yeux. Vous allez toujours avoir des images, une qui vient d'une revue adolescente, une qui vient d'une revue pornographique. Laquelle est ado, laquelle est porno? Donc, A, porno ou ado? A, ado, B, porno? Laquelle?
Je pensais pas que c'était si pire que ça, la ressemblance. Parce que moi, je voyais ça, puis j'ai grandi là-dedans. Et pour moi, c'était quasiment normal. La fille apporte rien, mais... moi, je trouve ça triste parce que nous, on s'en rend plus compte. Pour nous, là, c'est normal. Ça me choque parce que c'est pas supposé être normal. Tu vois une fille à nue, puis tu sais, c'est pas supposé de faire rien. Fait que moi, ça me dérange un peu, là.
Branlez-vous 100% gratuit. Grosse chatte, femme grosse, fille salope, grosse chatte, grosse pute. Seigneur de Dieu. Ouf. Chatte annuaire de sexe. Donc on voit qu'on n'est pas dans les petits chatons.
Il y a Internet aussi.
The Internet has changed everything. The accessibility of sex images over the Internet means that children and teenagers have early exposure to sexually oriented images. Once again, it's very alarming because some children and even teenagers may be traumatized by the images they see. The Internet gives them access to everything. Certain images may be very disturbing. In fact, they may be violations of human dignity.
We cannot deny how society has been pornified. I mean, there's a number of people who are looking into this. I mean, and it's one of those industries that has gone from being something totally marginal to something that being massive. Those $57 billion a year industry is there to rake a lot of money. I mean, it's everywhere. And what you see is that those codes that come from pornography are, have infiltrated all areas of life.
Now it's used in advertising, in reality TV, in some teen movies. It's becoming more and more explicit. We see scenes between men and women about their sexuality. We observe people's private lives, fictional ones, but nonetheless, it feeds a kind of voyeurism. I call this type of program kiss and run, or in other words, kiss them, then get rid of them. Participants are made to choose and then eliminate each other.
On va jouer à deviner les fesses, OK?
À votre tour, les filles.
There's also the whole world of sex chats, in which webcams are used and young people chat with each other using extremely vulgar, explicit language. I had one case, a 13-year-old girl who was chatting with a boy who said he was 17. He said to her, "You gonna put my big dick in your mouth?" And she answered, "Yes, and I'll swallow too." She's 13 years old. Our public space is constantly sexualized, and the media acts as agents of socialization. If in no other way than through repetition, they give the impression that this is what is natural, normal, and even necessary.
D'autres situations de ça, oui. Oui.
Ce qui me désole à travers ça aussi, c'est de voir à quel point ils sont comme un peu laissés à eux autres mêmes et sans point de repère au niveau des relations amoureuses et de la sexualité. Quand je demande aux jeunes de 5e, 6e année, mais c'est quoi une relation sexuelle? Immanquablement, c'est toujours la pornographie qui arrive avec des mouvements de masturbation, de fellation, des petits cris de jouissance ici et là. Puis quand je leur parle de juste prendre la main de sa copine, de juste aller au parc, de se téléphoner, de jouer au ballon, ils me regardent en disant « Ah oui, on peut faire ça ». Eux autres, ce qu'ils voient, c'est la porno sur Internet, puis eux autres non plus, ils n'ont pas de point de repère. Alors tout le monde est comme dans une espèce de nuage flou, puis bien ça donne ce que ça donne.
Mais moi, ce que je me rends compte, c'est que les parents ont aussi besoin de repères et de limites. C'est-à-dire, ils sont eux-mêmes en manque de repères.
Et puis, c'est sûr qu'elle commence très tôt. Hein. Moi, j'ai eu l'expérience de 3 filles qui sont venues dans mon bureau 12 ans. Avec une telle banalisation de la sexualité que j'arrivais même pas à comprendre la terminologie qu'il utilisait pour décrire qu'est-ce qu'il faisait comme acte. Et à un moment donné, il y a une qui me disait « Ah, mais moi, je suis beaucoup plus à l'aise pour te tailler que pour faire la pipe. » J'ai dit « Tailler ?» Je ne comprenais pas. Il fallait que je fasse un sondage avec mes collègues pour voir. Et finalement, j'ai compris. Non, et finalement, il y a une qui l'a su. Et puis, bon, en fait, tailler, c'est comme... c'est quoi? Comme tailler un crayon.
Oui, ok,
ça,
donc
bon.
tailler une pipe.
Oui, c'est ça. Et à la fin, après avoir eu toute cette rencontre avec les filles, j'ai demandé, êtes-vous heureuse avec ça? Et c'était très, très, très charmant la façon comme ils disaient, non, on n'est pas heureuse avec ça. Et on aimerait... Le souhait de toutes ces filles-là, c'est d'être respectées, d'être heureuses, d'être aimées, mais ils ne savent pas comment. Ils disent... Mais c'est madame, c'est tellement maintenant, tout le monde nous traite comme ça.
Bien souvent, j'ai des élèves qui viennent me voir, qui sortent avec des garçons et elles vont se plaindre que, bon, le garçon la dénigre, l'appelle de nom ou le garçon va regarder d'autres filles dans les couloirs, puis lui va se permettre de flirter avec d'autres filles, mais la fille, elle n'a pas le droit de parler à d'autres garçons. Donc, des choses comme ça, ou bien le gars va dire « Je veux pas que tu parles à d'autres garçons, je veux pas que tu aies d'amis garçons. » Donc, tu sais, il y a comme une sorte de possession ou de jalousie exagérée. Et la fille est consciente de ça, puis elle sait que la relation est malsaine, mais elle va rester quand même.
Tout à fait. Donc, comment on a un travail à faire avec les jeunes dans les rapports égalitaires. Et c'est ça aussi, toutes les voies qui vont nous aider à contrer l'hypersexualisation, bien, c'est parler de séduction, parler du consentement, parler de rapports égalitaires, parler de qu'est-ce que ça veut dire une relation amoureuse, qu'est-ce que ça veut dire faire attention à l'autre, qu'est-ce que ça veut dire se préoccuper de l'autre concrètement.
Mais on vit dans une société que c'est complètement le contraire. La pornographie est accessible, elle est banalisée, mais de parler sexualité à son enfant, je veux dire, c'est difficile, c'est pas évident, ça devrait plutôt être le contraire. On vit vraiment une époque où c'est le monde à l'envers là-dessus.
Je suis médecin au sein d'une clinique.
I'm a doctor at a youth clinic that treats people under 18, usually aged 12 to 17.
Très souvent, les filles qui consultent.
Often, when I start talking with girls about sexuality, whether I broach the subject or they talk about it spontaneously, it's about things they don't want to talk about or don't dare talk about with their mothers or their parents.
Il y a des filles qui nous demandent.
Girls will ask us, I'm going to be a bit crude here, but these are words we hear in our offices. Do I have to do it in all 3 holes? The 3 holes are the mouth, the vagina, and the anus. I can't imagine that all girls like giving fellatio to boys. And I don't believe that all girls enjoy anal penetration, especially when there's no preparation at all. So there's no loosening of the muscles. It's impossible for that to be pleasant. So I think it's hard for young people to set limits as to what healthy sexuality means. With everything that goes around, particularly with all the porn that's now accessible to everyone. For boys especially, porn has now become the standard. They have the impression that they must perform as if they were in the porn films that they watch. So they feel pressure to perform, and the girls feel pressure too, because they must agree to it, they must go along with it, and do it well. They don't necessarily talk as a couple about the pressure they're experiencing, because when you're only 14, you've never had sex before, you feel all the pressure, but you don't necessarily feel comfortable talking about it with your boyfriend. Do you expect me to do this or that? The first sexual experience is always a bit awkward.
Marie, tu peux-tu nous la montrer? Il faudrait qu'il soit comme ça.
Hey, 13 photos sexy!
Voyons donc!
Revue porno, moi je suis pas d'accord.
Ah, ok, fait qu'eux ils sont habillés puis eux ils sont nus. Mais presque. Oh my god! C'est quoi l'arnaque?
J'en fais torse nu aussi, là. Ah, elles sont pas habillées.
I mean, I look at the hypersexualization and the premature sexualization of girls as definitely for the taking part of violence. There's many violences that are happening at the same time. I mean, there's a violence, the physical violence, this idea of the symbolic violence of being seen as an object all the time, the economic violence of being used without any consideration about the impact that it may have in your health as a sex object and turned into a sex object. There's political violence when governments do not take action and saying, okay, well, we need to limit these excessive forms of capitalism and control some of these industries so the kids are not targeted.
The space of childhood has been invaded. The space for just being a kid, for being able to do silly things, for playing tricks, being able to tease each other, running around, just having fun. They are really thrown into the arena in front of everyone, virtually naked, symbolically, I mean.
Ça, c'est une revue, un journal qui sort à chaque semaine. Alors, qu'est-ce que vous pensez de cette publicité?
Pas bien. Pas bien. Parce que c'est une femme toute nue qui se montre. Elle montre ses seins.
Est-ce que c'est une bonne façon de vendre les culottes?
Non.
Non?
Il faut pas montrer ses parties. Parce que ça, c'est privé. Et ses parties intimes. Ouais,
alors, je me suis dit, voilà une activité pour vous, on va habiller la fille.
Ah! Tout maman, pas. Ah, maintenant, on voit plus si c'est parce que t'as mis orange, vraiment les ventres. Ah, toi, t'as mis un chemin. J'ai coloré, c'est quoi ta langue? Ben, la mienne. Qu'est-ce que t'as mis?
I mean, that whole phrase, girl power, has been stolen. It was invented in the 70s to mean that a girl could do whatever she wanted to do. She could enter fields and be in sports that boys were normally in. But today it just means the power to shop and the power to look hot.
The Pussycat Dolls are all about female empowerment, and I'm all about female empowerment.
I'll tell you what's really strange. Somehow the 60s feminism has been marketed as an anti-sex feminism. It's really odd, I mean, because the 60s feminism was all about sexual freedom. I mean, not only all about that. But today it's been redefined, this sort of sexual freedom, as the freedom to look as sexy as your man wants you to look.
Because, of course, I mean, the power of sexuality, we always knew that was there. We always had it. But what we are telling girls, I mean, with all those messages is that's the only power that you have. The only power that you have.
Girls, listen up. We've been talking about confidence, right? One of the ways to understand what confidence is all about is doing something like that.
We can say that this sexualization of society is a way of keeping girls and women in their place. Because if you're terribly concerned about what you look like and you constantly have to watch yourself and how you look like and what attitude you have, then you do not have any mental energy to take care of other projects that could be more positive for your well-being.
Disons, ici au Collège Mont-Notre-Dame, on fait des projets dans lesquels on prend des causes, dont celle de l'hypersexualisation. Puis c'est peut-être aussi une des causes qui m'apparaît, on dirait, où les gens ils semblent le plus indifférents à un changement. T'sais, on veut un changement, mais on fait pas tant que ça, le changement. En tout cas, si on le veut, ça n'a pas changé. Donc, une fois qu'on fait de l'art, nous, on cherche comment on peut s'engager maintenant avec ça.
Well, what can parents do with this onslaught of these images? The best remedy is to teach your daughters to be critical of what's around them and give them the tools to read what they're seeing. I don't think taking things away or preventing them from much is going to help, but having them start to make those choices at an early age themselves is the best way. And so to some extent you have to say, sure, this stuff is fun, and sure, we're going to watch this junky TV, or it's kind of like junk food, really. You can't totally take it out of your children's lives, but you can draw attention to how everywhere they go, somebody wants to sell them some junk. In this case, it's a sexualized image of how they're supposed to be. Another thing that parents really can do is keep reminding their daughters who they really are as a whole person and not just as, you know, a figure to be looked at.
Si on avait quelque chose à écrire dans un livre, une phrase, qui exprime bien ce que vous croyez sur la femme ou ce qui se passe en ce moment sur l'exploitation de son corps ou dans la publicité, quelle phrase vous écriveriez?
Ici, on écrit respect de soi puis égalité entre hommes et femmes.
Having collective awareness means saying to yourself, I am concerned about children and teenagers and their future as men and women. I believe that certain things are not appropriate for them, and I'm doing what I can about it.
On veut une fille comme ça.
So there's another girl for sale. But you know, savez-vous ce qu'on fait les enfants? On trouve l'adresse. C'est très pratique sur Internet. OK, regarde, American Apparel Canada.
What can you do at your level of influence to change this? And then governments, and then industry, and you know, schools and parents, and everyone has a role to play.